Hello, everyone, and welcome to the grand return of the Sons of Serizawa podcast. Here with me today is none other than two of the normal three rowdy bunch of individuals that I always love to chat with when in terms of Godzilla and anything else that isn't Godzilla. Give it up for my co-host of the fully endorsed podcast, Mr. Dillion McCandless, aka Super DM64.
Yes, hello. Welcome to 3/4 of the Sons of Serizawa. How's it going?
And finally, but certainly not least, it is David! Oh my god, David! AKA Gorizard.
I gotta call my doctor. I gotta call my lawyer. Not forget about my lawyer.
David, how the hell are you today?
I did not prepare for my usual weird-ass comments after being introduced.
Oh shit, that's right, you used to do that bullshit.
It's been 85 years.
85 years? Well, you can certainly blame our original host of the SOS who went AWOL for a good half a year. who is sir not joining us this evening on account of him not wanting to spoil himself with anything and going into Godzilla versus Kong as fresh and blind as possible, which I respect, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to make fun of it.
He's as blind as a bat.
And so we have gathered here today to talk about something that we thought we would never see in a million years in the lead up to Godzilla vs. Kong's release, and that is the official trailer, the first and, who knows, potentially last trailer of this thing. And since we have had a history of over-analyzing trailers in the past, concerning movies involved in the MonsterVerse, I figured, hey,
I don't know what you're talking about, Andres. I've never overanalyzed a trailer before in my life.
Maybe we might have had a particular World War C, B,
we don't think of those days.
And I figured, it'd be great. It's great to get the gang back together, most of the gang back together, and just talk about our thoughts and feelings on both the trailer and kind of everything surrounding this movie. So this movie has had like quite the turbulent history. It was originally announced, I believe, for 2020, or wasn't it originally announced for like 2019, back when King of the Monsters was set for 2018?
Not really. It was announced in 2015 that they were going to do a shared cinematic universe leading up to Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
And I think 2020 was the original target release even before they pushed up King of the Monsters.
Okay. Okay then. So like for the most part, we were originally guaranteed that this movie was going to come out in 2020. But then 2020 happened, and so we didn't get the movie, and instead it kept getting pushed further and further to the back end, and then like a lot of movies from 2020 was pushed into 2021, and at that point, Warner Brothers decided to dump all their movies onto HBO Max, and while having a simultaneous release in theaters. And at that point, we were wondering, when exactly is it going to come out on streaming and theaters? And then, surprisingly, they announced that it was going to be released in late March, before it was slightly delayed to the very last day of March for the US. And then here we are today with a trailer that came out roughly 2 months away from the actual movie itself. And so the first thing I want to mention was Warner Brothers' treatment of this movie, because I have the strong suspicion that Warner Brothers is essentially setting this movie up to fail, because they've spent like next to nothing on marketing this movie. And the fact that they want to get this movie released so soon, I feel like they're trying to get this movie out of the way and make what little money they possibly can along the way. What do you two think about that?
That's entirely possible, given the underperformance of King of the Monsters. However, given that this trailer has been a huge success, I think maybe they're reevaluating that.
That is true, yeah, because like this movie here got a lot of attention that really surprised me, because when King of the Monsters came out, practically no one outside of the Godzilla community really talked about it, nor did they really give a shit. And then it really surprised me when, after this trailer came out, suddenly my entire subscription feed was filled with people giving, like, mainstream movie YouTubers, from, like, Jeremy Johns, Double Toasted, Black Nerd Comedy, and Angry Joe. Everyone was talking about the trailer. In fact, if you were to go onto YouTube right now and type Godzilla vs. Kong trailer reaction, I would expect someone like Titan Goji or D-Man 1954. But no, instead, you get a bunch of the normie YouTubers, and then you eventually get to D-Man 1954. So it's like, holy shit, this thing like somehow managed to connect with mainstream audiences way more than King of the Monsters did.
Well, it's important to remember that King Kong is less niche in America than Godzilla is. That's just the way it is.
I was about to bring that up. I was thinking, was it Kong himself that brought attention to this franchise? Because I feel like, yeah, as you're right, Americans are way more into Kong than they are with Godzilla, and Kong has always had somewhat of a more highly revered reputation than Godzilla ever did in the West. When Americans think of Kong, they think of him as like a cinematic icon, a classic, a pillar of modern filmmaking. And when people think of Godzilla, they think of guy in the cheap rubber suit smashing models.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I think it's the way that they're marketing this movie as opposed to the way they marketed the last one. I think they really learned from their mistakes here. The big problem with King of the Monsters was they sold that movie as something it was not.
Mm-hmm.
They sold it like it was going to be this deep, like epic, like kaiju movie that like was gonna change your fucking life or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when in reality, what it was a big dumb schlocky action movie, a la Final Wars or Destroy All Monsters. And I love that, but it's not what the trailer advertised,
Uh-huh.
And it's whereas with this, and also I think looking back, I think maybe the trailers for King of the Monsters might have lost a lot of the general movie-going public because it was kind of, they were perhaps a bit pretentious, with the fucking opera and shit, fucking Mothra opening her wings while the fucking Valkyries in the background are like, whoa, like nobody.
And also, they're also being very coy with the monsters, not showing you a whole lot of them in detail. Like,
right, this is America, and even like people, you got to think of like the average Joe out there who maybe even saw 2014 and liked it, or loves Kong Skull Island. He's gonna see that trailer, think like, and go like, this looks fucking gay as hell, and then fucking. Whereas this trailer, this trailer fucks. Okay, this trailer fucking. This trailer brings the house down. This trailer delivers exactly what the fuck you want it to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already seeing some of the kickback, like, oh, this looks like it's just going to be another dumb fucking movie. Look, if you're expecting Bill Shakespeare out of Godzilla versus Kong, I don't know what to tell you. You can't make a Godzilla versus Kong movie and have it be like super serious. I'm sorry, it's an inherently silly concept. The Japanese understood this, which is why the original version of the original film is a satire.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know what to tell those people.
I do feel like it's very possible that I'm not sure how far along in development this movie was made when King of the Monsters was released, but there's definitely not just looking at Kong. I feel like Kong Skull Island is the closest in tone to what this trailer seems to be coming across, where it's just pure escapist fantasy. And I feel
it is because I remember Jordan Buck Roberts once said that he spoke with Adam Wingard,
mm-hmm.
and he told his followers on Instagram to expect the same level of style and tone as Skull Island for Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah,
and looking like Adam Wingard seems like someone like Jordan who's into anime and video games and things like that. He would bring that
mm-hmm.
that those influences to a tentpole like this. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that is true. And honestly, I feel like Kong Skull Island has been my favorite of the MonsterVerse films so far. I mean, it may sound blasphemous for a Godzilla fan to say that, but honestly, that's how I feel. I feel like it's the best made movie, and it's the one that is the most entertaining and the one I revisit more often because
like if I had to,
I agree.
If I had to pick one to watch right now, that would be my first choice.
And for you, David?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing because I love 2014 and I love Skull Island, but between the two, Skull Island is the better film for obvious reasons because it delivers what it promises. And 2014, there was a lot of false advertisement with that film. I still like it, but I feel like it just the version that they promise sounds more intriguing than the final film.
Very true.
Not only that, but 2014 has a problem where it drags a lot in the second act.
Very
Kong
true.
Skull Island, on the other hand, fucking just goes.
It's just a never-ending roller coaster from beginning to end.
Right, exactly. The marketing promised exactly what you got in with the final film.
It told you that monsters existed, and it did. It showed that, just that.
Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, man, the second act, it feels like I'm watching a 3-hour movie right now, and I'm not,
Like the moment I see that train go by, like I forgot what moment in the movie, but I know there's that shot of the train going by as Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is like walking to a random military base. It's like at that moment, it's like that's the visual indication for my brain to check out.
Right. Then you just start thinking about all those Thomas the Tank Engine memes.
So with the Godzilla movies, the two Godzilla movies that we've gotten, 2014 and King of the Monsters, my opinions on them have slowly shifted over time, where upon watching both of them for the very first time, I was mainly excited for the novelty of seeing, a big budgeted Hollywood Godzilla on the big screen. But I feel like these are two movies that, for me personally, don't hold up on multiple viewings. Like what David said, I still enjoyed 2014 for the ideas that it presented, and for me, there's always an inherent sentimental value in 2014 because it was kind of how I met you guys and how I became a part of the Godzilla community around the time when there was the hype building up back in early 2012. So a lot of those memories are inherent during any viewing of mine watching 2014. With King of the Monsters, I was at first I really enjoyed the movie, just on simply on a spectacle fueled level. But like David's review of 2014 of King of the Monsters, I start to note the plot for me doesn't hold up. The characters and plot doesn't hold up for me. On every time I view it, it gets a little worse each time. As great as the action is, a lot of the aesthetic choices, a lot of the writing choices,
creative choices,
the logistics behind how nuclear radiation works in this universe just loses me. So I'm actually really relieved that, at the very least, this trailer seems to lean more heavily into Kong Skull Island territory than it does with King of the Monsters. I mean, even with King of the Monsters, you mentioned, Dillion, that King of the Monsters had more of a schlocky, fun, turn your brain off type of vibe to it. Would you say that there's still a little bit of that seriousness from 2014 kind of carried over into King of the Monsters that wasn't present in Skull Island, though?
Yeah, I think one issue that I do have with King of the Monsters, I think I'm the most positive on that movie of the three of us. I still enjoy that movie quite a bit,
sure.
flawed as it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Bill doesn't like it anymore?
No, Bill.
Sorry, go ahead.
Bill still likes it, as far as I understand. But having just rewatched that movie yesterday, I believe, I think one problem is there's a little bit of an identity crisis going on. Mm-hmm. It feels like, I think Doherty felt sort of beholden to that slightly more serious tone that Gareth Edwards had established in the first film, while at the same time trying to be schlockier and have more fun with it. And I feel like maybe he should have just gone one way or the other.
I definitely agree. Yeah, it's kind of like
there's a little bit of tonal dissonance going on.
Right. Especially, like, I think the best example would probably be the use of the Oxygen Destroyer. He probably threw it in as, like, a reference to one of the most serious and well-revered of the Godzilla movies, and he treats it like, you know, we're supposed to see this as fans being like, oh my god, it's the Oxygen Destroyer, but then he kind of uses it as, like, a throwaway plot device, really. So it's like he wants to appease... It's like he's trying to appease fans of the serious Godzilla movies and fans of the schlockier Godzilla movies, but not really doing it so well. Like, as you said, it's an identity crisis.
You know what would have been a better way of doing the Oxygen Destroyer? If you somehow had, like, Kyle Chandler's character be involved in the creation of it, because throughout that movie he has that weird vendetta against Godzilla, and the whole movie is about him, like, coming to terms with Godzilla and, like, not being mad about the dead son anymore or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. I think they dropped the dead son angle like halfway into the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it remained a major part of his and Vera Farmiga's character motivations, but beyond that, it really didn't, come up again.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the major problems I have with the movie. Also, is that trying too damn hard to be two things at once. It's trying to be, the fun B-movie creature feature, while at the same time have these themes that it perceives as, deep, complex, and monumental, and it just doesn't land with either approach. And the result is the nauseating fucking piece of shit that the movie is.
And listen, I make fun of the Japanese movies when they do this shit too, when you have a Godzilla movie that's like just super goofy the whole time, and then at the end they try to shoehorn in like a serious message. They do that shit all the time. You just watch like like a really like schlocky Godzilla movie, and at the very end some Japanese guy goes, I guess we should have taken better care of the environment or whatever. And you're like,
maybe
what?
Man is the real monster.
You see, when the Toho movie,
I guess Godzilla was inside of us all along. Maybe the real Godzilla was the friends we made along the way.
When the Toho movies do that, though, it's kind of forgivable. But when King of the Monsters does it, it drags it throughout the entire film. And what's even more annoying is that even after all the criticism, Michael Dougherty still holds those themes up in his Twitter. I don't know if you guys were following along with that watch along during the pandemic.
Oh no, I did not. What happened?
But Michael Dougherty was really sucking his own dick in terms of those themes and how he handled the movie. And I'm like, this dude literally did not refuse to listen to any criticism regarding that film.
I wonder if that's more of like the case of him sort of becoming a Hollywood yes man, who is like, he has to appease his bosses and not make him nor their products look bad at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know though, because
absolutely, but
I mean, the movie's been out for a year at that point. I don't think he has to be a yes man anymore. It's usually just until the movie comes out.
I don't know, because like studios talk.
Well, at the time.
Go ahead.
Well, at the time, he was still employed by Warner's, or technically Legendary in this case, to I guess write the script for Godzilla vs. Kong, because Dougherty and Zach Shields have a story by credit, so that means that they actually did work significantly on the script, but not enough to get a screenplay by credit, because I guess when Eric Pearson and Max Bornstein got their hands on it, they changed enough, thank fucking God, to only allow Dougherty and Shields a story by credit. And I hope that whatever bullshit Dougherty and Shields added to the script, I hope that Pearson and Bornstein were smart enough to say, yeah, this makes no fucking sense, I'm going to change it to this instead of that. Because it's pretty clear that exploring the Hollow Earth was Dougherty and Shields' idea. Having Godzilla and Kong fight on the carrier was Terry Rossio's idea, because that sounds like something. That sounds like his MO.
It sounds like a very 90s schlocky thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like something that that came from him.
That is definitely something I'm very curious about with this movie, because like a lot of people are hyped from this trailer mainly because of like the spectacle factor, the schlocky turn your brain off sort of deal. But the thing that
here's well, before we proceed, I want to go back to the your original question about, is Warner Brothers setting this up for failure?
Sorry, yes, go ahead.
I don't think it is, because I don't know if it was like a week after the release of King of the Monsters or a month after. Godzilla vs. Kong was delayed, and then Toby Emmerich said earlier in the year that the movie was going to get delayed so they can deliver an A+ picture. His exact words. My guess was that, okay, they saw how bad King of the Monsters was, so they're going to go back and fix Godzilla vs. Kong, which I'm glad they did, because there's so many writers on that on the script. And I feel like, the pandemic gave them the opportunity to actually go back and fix it, because they had a test screening back in February 2020, and supposedly it got positive reviews, according to Adam Wingard. But at the time I felt like he was just saying that to
yeah, it's just like PR talk.
Yeah, because he has to say good things about it,
right?
And, yeah, it was a piece of shit yesterday. Yeah, but I feel like this film is being set up for, or was the original intention for it was to be successful, because it's Godzilla vs. Kong. How do you not profit for something like that? But then Warner's came out with their stupid simultaneous release plan, and now I'm expecting it to make like the same amount of money as either Tenet or Godzilla King of the Monsters, at least $300 million worldwide. It's not going to break even. That's unrealistic by this point.
And why do you think it's stupid though? Because they won't make as much money?
Well, they're shooting themselves in the foot, because you guys know I'm a pirate, and it's easy to fucking rip a high quality movie from Netflix and put it up on uTorrent,
which is good, because nobody should spend money to see Wonder Woman 1984. I mean,
shots fired.
God damn. And this movie's not going to be, these movies that are going to end up on both HBO Max and theaters, they're not going to be the successes that Warner's is hoping.
Right.
Because, they're giving the keys to their kingdom to pirates. This whole, I feel like this whole 5 days early in international markets before it lands on HBO Max is really like a desperate attempt on Warner Brothers' part to beat the pirates, so they can get that international box office revenue. Because
but there are pirates overseas.
Yeah, but Hollywood films perform.
The English practically invented pirates,
especially in Somalia. I see what your point is, in that it's definitely gonna open the doors for piracy, unless somehow HBO Max manages to program themselves to where it'll shut itself off if anyone tries any screen recording devices. I don't know, but
Snapchat.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like I don't think there's any other option, because sure, they could just delay these movies indefinitely until things get back to normal, if there's a normal to go back to after this pandemic. But I think that by sitting on these movies, they're losing money the longer they continue to sit on these movies.
Yeah, because the interest charges do raise for with the exhibitors they have a contract with.
Yeah.
So I do understand, that why they're releasing it on both digital and theaters.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a no-win situation, or rather, it's like they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
So yeah, as for how successful this movie is, I'm kind of with you. I don't think this is really going to be as successful as they wanted to, and this very well may be the last live action MonsterVerse. I know recently it was announced that there was going to be a Kong Skull Island anime being produced on Netflix.
I feel like that was like a big. I feel like that was like a big fuck you to HBO Max. They're making that Netflix instead.
Well, Netflix has got that studio that they work with, the ones that did the Castlevania show, and everybody fucking. everybody wants to fucking work with them right now. They're hot shit.
They did Castlevania. They did Blood of Zeus. They did Seis Manos.
That was them?
That was them, yeah.
I don't know if they're the ones who are working on that He-Man thing with Kevin Smith.
Oh, I certainly hope so. They're like the studio to go to for like high quality, like not adult animation, but I wouldn't say like mature animation, or at least stuff that's catered to an older audience. I would love that. In fact, if I were to ever have like a 2D animated Draco Azul series made, I would love those guys to do it.
I would have told you to have gone with them.
With it's funny enough, like to go briefly go on a tangent, it's weird that everyone's promoting this as an anime because this animation studio, they're based in Texas. How is it an anime if it's in Texas? The
word anime has no meaning anymore, Andres.
That's true. It's kind of go ahead.
It's like kaiju. It's become a loan word by this point.
It's become a marketing word, I guess. It's also kind of like the Transformers War for Cybertron trilogy, quote unquote anime. It's made by Rooster Teeth, another Texas-based company, in collaboration with Polygon, which is technically a Japanese animation studio, but at the same time they also did Transformers Prime, and no one refers to Transformers Prime as an anime.
I wonder if that's part of the reason why like kids networks like Cartoon Network and like Nickelodeon don't really do as many like action shows anymore, because I feel like that had became the territory of like anime. You know what I mean?
That is true. Yeah, they really like took the market there, and then like in fact, if you go to the modern day Toonami block, it's all nothing but anime, I think.
Yeah. Which it was mostly back in the day too. I mean, to be fair,
right. Very true.
The shit.
We had some original. Yeah, we had Reboot. We had Voltron: The Next Dimension. Nobody remembers Voltron: The Next Dimension. As for
they had that weird special where Tom died. You remember that?
Yeah, and they made a sequel to that for the new Toonami like several times already now. Let's see. So going into this trailer here, we brought up the tone and that it might fall in line more with the schlocky fun direction of Kong Skull Island. But the thing that I feel like is holding this trailer back for me, and that's something that was also brought up by the Double Toasted gang, is the human side of things, where I'm looking at a lot of these like human the brief snippets of us looking at the humans, and they don't seem to bring the same amount of energy that the rest of the trailer has, especially not the same level of energy that the likes of John Goodman and Sam Jackson brought in the marketing and eventual release of Kong Skull Island. So that is definitely my Go ahead.
Does this also include the Mexicans in the trailer?
Yes, this includes the very few Mexicans that are in this trailer, David. But what worries me the most is definitely the child in this movie, only because it's like, I like the idea, actually, of Kong having a strong bond with a female character, because that kind of falls in line with the tradition Kong has always had in every single one of his movies.
It's a good way to do that trope without it being creepy, you know.
But I didn't like that it's a child, because it's such a Hollywood move to have a precocious, wide-eyed child that's there to as an ease. I feel like it's a cheap, easy way for the audience to get immediately involved, because they're like, oh, it's a little child. We don't want the child to get hurt. Kong's got to save the child. It just feels like it's an easy method of manipulating the audience's emotions. And I would have preferred like
crazy writing.
Yeah, and I would have preferred like an adult islander of Skull Island, just because I feel like they could get more value out of a character like that than a little child who seemingly barely never speaks. And of course, child actors have a rather shaky history, are very hit and miss when it comes to how good they can perform on screen.
I think the child could, again, with the right script, I think it could work, because I think if you do it with an adult, it could fall into generic territory, because it could go in the direction of Mighty Joe Young, where, you know,
right. But also Kong has a troubling history of rapey overtones with his human protagonists, and making it a child hopefully prevents that.
I don't know, man. I think it might be worse.
I mean, listen, if he picks her up in a waterfall and starts blowing her clothes off,
Ooh.
just like and we'll have a problem.
The wrong era. But that easily could happen with the adult version that Anders wants.
Honestly,
I mean, we almost got they just like barely hinted at that trope in Skull Island with the Brie Larson stuff, just barely. And I feel like this will allow them to explore that idea more again without it being weird.
Honestly, like earlier before, I think David just brought up like Mighty Joe Young. I honestly would be cool with a Mighty Joe Young approach.
Yeah. There's also like
my problem with that though is that like I said, it's an idea that could be generic because if you have like the Jill Young version of this movie, she could like fall in love with Alexander Skarsgård because I mean look at him.
Well, I'm trying to, but he barely appears in this trailer.
Huh?
I'm trying to look for Alexander Skarsgård, but he barely appears in this trailer.
He's right there.
Okay. All right.
Goddamn Aaron Eckhart looking motherfucker.
Honestly, I have no idea who Alexander Skarsgård is, but he kind of looks like the most generic version of like a Hollywood leading male actor. Am I wrong?
He's the one who's
looks
not.
like Aaron Eckhart.
He's the one who's not Pennywise, right? That's the other Skarsgård.
Yeah, it's the other one. It's his younger brother.
Oh,
Gotcha.
okay.
And this one's not bug-eyed.
And they have a dad who acts too. I forget his name.
Yeah, from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo remake.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Of like when it comes to him, it's like we're given like nothing to work with this trailer. So that's what gets me worried. We're given nothing on any of these characters, and that's what worries me. I feel like this very well might be another King of the Monsters situation where everything is very dry and dull in contrast to the high octane fueled fury of the monster fights.
I have just a little bit of more faith in this film and its characters. Again, because of Eric Pearson, he was Marvel's script doctor for the longest time. So with Godzilla vs. Kong, I am expecting a MCU style film because of Pearson. And Alexander Skarsgård has described his character as his own words. He calls him a character that's not prepared to handle the things that are happening in the movie. So I guess he's a coward. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. And Asa Gonzalez described the movie as...
Would anybody really be ready for this shit? Let's be real.
I guess not. I mean, we also had like
Kyle Chandler was ready.
Yeah.
Let's take a step. Let's step the fuck back for a moment and remember that we're talking about a giant radioactive dinosaur lizard fighting a fighting monkey, and let's
hey, it's a big monkey. I'm trying to think of what else I was thinking of there. Oh yeah, earlier you mentioned about you mentioned the them potentially going for like an MCU style of filmmaking. I certainly hope it's not to the degree that King of the Monsters was, because when I see King of the Monsters, I see them as them trying to replicate the feel of an MCU movie, especially when it came to its quippy dialogue and humor with some of the characters. And personally, I found it.
I blame that completely. I was going to say I blame that completely on Doherty and Shields.
I see.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you blame that on Doherty. All right.
Yeah, because Doherty and Shields, their only experience seems to be with small scale horror films. So going with a major tentpole blockbuster like Godzilla seems like they probably weren't prepared for that. And Legendary saw what they were trying to do, and they said, you know what, let's actually get a Marvel writer on the movie if we're going in that direction. And I guess that's where Eric Pearson came in.
Okay, then. And I guess
At least that's my theory. I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. And there's like one more character that I feel like it's. Well, I know we do also have like Ellie. What's her name? I forgot. What was the name of the?
Her name is Madison.
Madison,
yeah.
yes.
Madison Russell.
Yes, Madison Russell. We do have her coming back, and I'm going to assume that she might be a character has close ties to Godzilla. Maybe she's going on this weird like a road trip thing with her friends to get to the meaning of this.
Here's what interests me about the human story in this movie, based on what we've seen in the trailer.
Yeah.
It appears that what we have here is basically two separate human casts. One who's on Godzilla's side and one who's on Kong's side.
Yeah.
You've got the people, Skarsgård and company, who are bringing Kong to the mainland in order to fight Godzilla, and then you've got Kyle Chandler and 11. And the kid from Deadpool, and Kyle Chandler and 11 and the kid from Deadpool are going around in this van, kind of reminiscent of Godzilla 2000 if you think about it, trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with Godzilla.
Millie Bobby Brown. That's her name. I kept thinking Ellie. No, it's Millie.
I thought you meant the character's name.
No. That does make a lot of sense, Dylan. And it seems like an interesting enough premise to have two separate casts of characters that eventually collide as both Mon's title characters eventually cross paths.
Yeah, eventually they're going to have to all get together and compare notes because holy shit, Mechagodzilla just popped up.
Yeah. My only concern is that, like, me not being that big a fan of the characters from King of the Monsters, I'm not sure if I'm able to get invested in their side of things because but then again, to be more hopeful, like what David said, they got a new writing staff on board with this film, so they can possibly make these characters more engaging than they were in King of the Monsters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only two characters, at least that I noticed, who were returning was Kyle Chandler and Millie Bobby Brown, and I would argue that those are the two characters who work the best out of that movie.
Yeah.
So I'm fine.
Right, and I know this was already brought up by Double Toasted, and you also brought this up yourself in the on Facebook. But it's like that moment where Chandler's like, Godzilla's run amok, and we have no idea what's going on. In the background, the rap music goes, yeah. It's like, finally shit's going down. Yeah. And the only other character that I find to be very intriguing is this one actor who I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not, but I believe he might be the son of Serizawa. I just realized that.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That is what
Shonoguri.
That is my understanding. And if you that's what I've heard. And if you look at the shot that we see of him in the trailer, he's clearly standing in front of like a Mechagodzilla like schematic, like some sort of a control system.
Right.
So apparently he is a part of either he's a part of or he's been taken hostage by whatever faction is behind Mechagodzilla. And my thoughts is I bet that he blames Godzilla for his father's death for obvious reasons, and is now a part of this whole Mechagodzilla thing. And he's going to have some sort of a character arc of basically the same thing that Kyle Chandler went through in the last movie. And a lot of human characters go through that arc though in kaiju movies, to be fair.
Right.
So, I hate that kaiju. My daddy died.
That wascally kaiju makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's the Gamera 3 of it all,
And yeah, I you know what? I do dig that idea of like a guy who becomes upset at Godzilla and ends up going the opposite path of his father in an ironic twist of faith and creating a Godzilla of his own creation, and maybe he'll might turn out to be the villain, and Mechagodzilla turns out to be the villain, and they do this whole the same shtick that they do in every single crossover movie where the two title characters fight, but then they team up against Mechagodzilla. And then maybe the son of Serizawa says, like, man, my God, this whole time, I was the monster the whole time. Because, like, maybe Mechagodzilla turns out to be an even greater threat than Godzilla was.
Oh, God damn it. I feel like that's the direction that they're going with.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case, because like a lot of my friends would all say like, oh, it's just gonna be a kaiju version of BVS. And yeah, they're like, you were earlier before you were joking about this, Dylan, but yeah, this is probably gonna be the real kaijus were the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, I think it'll be better than that though, just because based on what we saw in the trailer, it looks like the Mechagodzilla threat is going to be, woven throughout the film. Whereas in BVS, they just pulled Doomsday out of their fucking ass, like at the last second.
Right, and this leads to one of the biggest theories in this movie, and about this movie, and that is, so the idea is that Godzilla has run amok, and that the humans are going to capture Kong, and unleash him on Godzilla. And the fan theory that a lot of people are thinking is this really Godzilla to begin with? And people bring this up because it's like, they're thinking...
Well, they've seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, they've all seen Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. And it would line up with the idea that they established Godzilla to be a clear-cut good guy in the last two movies. And so a lot of people are like, oh, well, then why is Godzilla suddenly acting crazy? Acting like the bad guy all of a sudden. And
why is he killing people now?
Yeah. Yeah. Funny enough, I can't help but think of that puppet shark meme that always went, yeah. If either of you ever seen that.
Yeah.
Send me that later.
Mechagodzilla or not, at least we're finally going to get like just straight city destruction scenes, right?
Right. I mean, honestly, I feel like Godzilla works best as a villain, as an antagonistic character. And so I'm actually excited to see Godzilla, at least who we think is Godzilla, kicking ass and not giving a fuck about anyone who stands in his path, as opposed to being like the late show. Go ahead.
I was going to say that I agree, because that's always been my favorite iteration of Godzilla, the Destroyer. I like the heroic version, but the Destroyer is much more compelling.
I think he works better. I think he just works better overall as an antagonist, or like as an anti-hero at the very, as a wild card anti-hero at the very least, like in the Heisei series.
Yeah, as an old Heisei boy from way back, I always like a Godzilla who just like, you never know whose side he's going to be on. Maybe he's on your side, maybe he's on his own side, maybe he's on the other guy's side.
Here's the thing, he's on his side. He doesn't give a shit. That was one of the frustrating things about King of the Monsters. It's like, why does he care about the monster ecosystem? It's like, as long as nobody's bothering him, he shouldn't give a shit.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really, really didn't like about King of the Monsters, is that it retcons everything from 2014, because in 2014 they established that there's this hunter-prey relationship between the monsters. Then King of the Monsters suddenly says that there's a hierarchy amongst them. Now, I like that idea, but for a separate series.
Yeah, that's kind of...
It just doesn't make sense with King of the Monsters, because there's so much retconning, and it's hard to accept what is canon and what is not. What are you going to retcon in the next movie?
And don't bother looking at those tie-in comics, because Hollywood never pays attention to those.
My thing is
the sailboats, right?
My thing is, in this continuity, how many natural enemies does Godzilla's species have? They were natural enemies with Moto, and then they were natural enemies with King Ghidorah. Now it turns out they're natural enemies with the Kongs, and there was a war way back in the before times. King Kong had to go into the Hollow Earth to get a fucking a mighty axe that was forged by his forebears. At least that's how I think he gets the fucking axe. That's a huge question mark that remains to be seen. But yeah, he's got to go down he's got to go down on the earth and get an old Godzilla scale, and then Groot chops off his arm and they put it together.
I was also thinking of that, like, just how Godzilla, how they're portraying Godzilla here, and it's like, it does kind of make sense to make Godzilla the antagonistic force, because it's like they got to have a reason to fight. You already set up Kong as the good guy, and you've set up Godzilla as the good guy, so you got to have some reason for them to go bad. And as cool as it would be for the Mechagodzilla theory to hold up, to end up being the case, I think what's going to happen is that I think Orca is going to be involved some way. Like, they already established Orca as a thing to...
Orca?
Yeah, the Orca, the little sonar device.
I thought you said Orga at first.
No,
wait, what?
Orca!
Orga is going to show up. Yeah, that's...
He's gonna fuck up Mechagodzilla, and he's gonna be Orga is gonna be the doomsday of this series. It's like, oh, Mechagodzilla was just a prototype. The real creature was using DNA from Godzilla and Kong, and we create Orga.
No. You got it all wrong. See, this is what happens. See, in the third act of the movie, Mechagodzilla shows up, and then him and Godzilla are staring each other down, and Kyle Chandler says, "Two Godzillas, what could it mean?" And then a wormhole opens up in space, and fucking Space Godzilla comes out.
Oh my god.
Kyle Chandler goes, "Three Godzillas! What could it mean?"
And then Kong is gonna be like, "Is he with you?" And Godzilla's gonna be like, "I thought he was with you."
And then Minya comes out of the sea.
Yeah, and then
Minya and Godzilla Jr. come out of the sea hand in hand, and then it's 5 Godzillas.
Dun 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 dun.
Kong calls up Godzilla and goes, "On your left," and then the portals start opening.
Oh god!
And then here comes Mogera and Jet Jaguar, and
oh, it'd be the biggest trash fire, but it'd be the greatest trash fire ever.
honestly, I would have so much respect for this movie if at the end they were like, "Hey, we secretly bought all the licenses and you had no idea." You thought Final Wars had all the monsters. Check out
the
CGI Hedera. You've been asking for that forever. Here you go.
That does remind me. Okay, so apparently it's been confirmed that Mothra and Mothra and Ghidorah, no, Mothra and Rodan are not in this movie. Are not in this movie.
Right, which is Mothra died.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But Rodan, he's still around.
And the egg. Mothra still has that egg like that was teased in the ending credits.
And like a big question mark that I have about this movie is, what about all those other monsters that they introduced what about fucking Sloth Mammoth or whatever his name was?
Behemoth.
Oh, he's in it. He's in it, supposedly.
Yeah, but instead we're just going to get a generic bat snake creatures and some generic bat creatures.
Do you think these bat snake things could be somehow related to the skull crawlers? They look like they're from the same family.
Maybe if their arms just evolved, or rather their ribs or arms or ribs, whatever, evolved into wings, perhaps. But I honestly, I don't know. I've been disappointed. Like, with the exception of the Mutos, I've been mostly disappointed with the original monsters that were created for the MonsterVerse, just because they kind of look extremely generic. It's just, here's big gorilla tusk monster. Here is big spider crab monster. Here's a scary snake monster. Here's scary bat monster. Here's another Muto monster.
I think it would have.
Listen, I agree with you for the most part, but Behemoth is a national treasure, and he must be protected.
Okay, I'll give you that. I of all the monsters, all the original monsters, Behemoth is admittedly my favorite of the bunch.
He just looks cool, and there's just something like majestic about him, and I want to know everything. I want to know his backstory. I want to know where he came from.
And I know actually. Lucky for you, some like smaller Godzilla vs. Kong toys were leaked, and it turns out Behemoth is finally going to have an official figure of his own. And I'm not sure how big these little figures are, but they're like tiny little figures, like the size of your hand, maybe.
Nice.
And yet,
I'm still getting that Behemoth toy.
And yet, the Muto still hasn't gotten its own toy outside of those like that vinyl of the male Muto. And those little chibi figures of male and female Mutos. and that weird egg thing that unfolds into a male Muto. Okay, so the Mutos have had a couple of toys over the years, but never any, like, good quality toys.
Is it just me, or did Kong not just get bigger, but in between movies, but did he get, like, more jacked? You know what I mean? Like, how many push-ups did he do? How many sit-ups? What kind of juice did he drink?
Has he been eating his Wheaties this whole time for the last, like, 40 years?
The man is friggin', to borrow a phrase from King of the Monsters, he's juiced, man.
I don't really see a whole lot different with him. Okay, I guess, like, maybe design-wise, his muscular tone has definitely been more, how would you say, more detailed or more developed, I say. I
don't remember in Skull Island, and I could be wrong.
More tone, yeah. He's more tone. He's been going to the gym, working the biceps, the triceps, the trapezies, and the pectorals.
He's been more focusing on the aesthetics as well as the fucking...
He went from a skinny chimpanzee to a strong Aryan German ape.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was it, David?
I was going to say that the one thing I'm a tiny bit disappointed with this version of Kong is the beard. It's not as long and big as I hoped it was going to be.
I knew you were going to bring up the stupid beard. That's the thing that every Godzilla fan comments on. Because I like the idea of Kong
having a beard. I want my beard. This is like this is a small beard.
I guess you're right. People were making a big...
I thought it was going to...
Yeah. Go ahead.
I thought it was going to be loosely going to be based on Adam Wingard's beard.
or Jordan Vogt Roberts' beard. Because that man has
those motherfuckers. Beard. I just wanted to...
Not even Kong can hope to compare to Jordan Vogt Roberts' beard, Andreas. Some things are just too majestic for this world, and one can never catch lightning in a bottle twice.
Well, Bill can. I do it.
No, Bill can never grow a beard. No, Dillion can grow a beard. Maybe to rival that of Kong's, but not Bill. I mean, that's right. Motherfucker, have you ever seen a picture of Dillion?
No, he has no idea what it was.
For fuck's sake.
I always imagine him looking like the Invisible Man, having all these bandages around and then the sunglasses.
What, are you living in fucking 2014?
Yes! Because I want to relive the hype. The hype was better than the movie. Even though I do still love that movie, I love the hype better.
I'm sure we all do wish we were in 2014, David. I'm sure we all do. But anyways,
the good old days before
we were so young and innocent and foolish back then. I do kind of see what you're coming from with the beard, because people made a big fuss about it, and when you see it in action, he hardly looks any different at all from how he looked like in Skull Island. You if you didn't know that his beard had grown longer, if you didn't know that in advance, you wouldn't have been able to even tell, really, as you're watching the movie.
Exactly, because there's some stuff where he doesn't have the beard at all.
I think it's just it just melds, or like it blends in with the rest of his hair the hair on his body. It blends into his neck, I think. But what I'm really interested in is the axe. It's one of those things where it's very silly, very stupid, but it's like, hey, as long as we're going there, might as well go all out. So
right, and we have established that this Kong uses tools.
Right.
In Skull Island, he was always improvising different ways of fighting the skull crawlers.
Yeah. And like the prevailing theory is that this axe was made from a spine, whether it's Godzilla's spine or another species of the Godzilla family. But I like that idea that it's something that is used as a thing to counter Godzilla's nuclear breath. because I doubt that this Kong is going to have lightning abilities like in the 62 film.
Right. I hope not.
Which they could have easily done. They could have worked that into the MonsterVerse, but the axe is good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Kong is a thinking animal. His brain is considerably larger.
I mean, listen, just the imagery of alone of Kong wielding fucking Stormbreaker is justification enough as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That shot, that's amongst one of my favorite shots in the trailer.
Uh-huh.
You know, we've talked about, you know, the characters and the story and the expectations and the lore and the fucking aesthetics and, you know, all that gay shit. But can we talk about the fucking action in this trailer? Because my God.
Yeah.
This trailer fucking deliver. When I watched this trailer for the first time, me and my cousin, we were crowded around my phone. And when Kong punches him in the face on that aircraft carrier, I nearly fell out my damn seat. It was fucking amazing.
It's like what was that one thing that Bill, Bill and I used to do, where it's like when we were watching Godzilla 2014, and every time Godzilla showed up on screen, we were like, oh, 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 oh. we just turn into like the apes from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of watching the trailer for Pacific Rim back in the day for the first time, and when that robot punches that kaiju in the face.
Yeah. I definitely...
You guys essentially recreated that episode from South Park where everyone was literally going apeshit over BB.
Yeah, I remember
Dylan,
that.
you seen that.
Yeah. I'm loving. They're really selling this aircraft carrier sequence, and I'm loving everything I'm seeing about it. That action scene, it looks great. It reminds me a lot of Battle for Earth when Godzilla shows up and attacks them, and they're taking the egg back to the mainland.
Right.
I love. Again, that punch is amazing. I love when Godzilla goes underwater and he does like the most iconic thing that he did in the last movie, you know, firing his beam directly up in the air. And then they fucking recreated the Die Hard shot with Kong.
I kept thinking of like the one shot from Ready Player One. Might as well jump. Dun, 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 dun. Go ahead and jump. Oh, did either of you get goosebumps when you started to hear the 2014 2001: A Space Odyssey music?
Yeah. I was like, that's a great nod to Garrett Edwards' movie.
These people know how to cut a fucking trailer. Let's be honest.
I just have one reservation with the action on display, and that is mainly to do with the overall colors and aesthetics. And that's only because, for me, I've kind of grown tired of the constant use of orange and blue filters, not just with the MonsterVerse, but for, like, just modern-day Hollywood action movies in general. Yeah. And, what was it? King of the Monsters did get a lot of criticism for constantly covering up a lot of the monster fights with particle effects, having them take place in the rain, in the snow, in dark clouds, and having constant color filters. Everything is all orange or red or blue. And here, the action sequences are definitely very well shot, very visible. We can see what everything is, we can see everything that's going on. But unfortunately, we still got those, like, digitally colored filters. There are certain shots where everything is blue, but like I skip around, and any shot that you see that's CG field, it's all orange. Orange shot, blue shot, orange shot, and maybe occasionally some like a desaturated gray shot. And that's like my main concern, really. This is just like a personal taste for me, because I just kind of gone bored of this overall aesthetic for the MonsterVerse. And I guess it's maybe just a thing that we've been exposed to these movies for the last 6 years now, and so I'm kind of ready to move on. But there is that one shot, I would say I will give credit to that shot of the neon city of what I believe is Hong Kong, and that it does look cool for Godzilla to be surrounded by a lot of these neon lit buildings. But then if you notice that the shot of the neon stuff, Godzilla is pretty much like obscured, is like You're right. It does. It's kind of Pacific Rim, but like beyond how beautiful, gorgeous these buildings are, Godzilla's the darkest shit in the entire shot. It's like everything is lit up, except him. Go ahead.
I think that I'm assuming it's an easy trick in Hollywood to go with these filters and that aesthetic, because I noticed a similar pattern with movie posters. You look at all Marvel posters, and they kind of have a similar pattern as well. I just assume that it's just these guys being lazy and just like going with what they've mastered over the last 10 years. That's one of the things that I really miss about 2014 is the cinematography. It doesn't look like a today's Hollywood blockbusters. It looks like a film from like the 70s or the 80s. And then you look at King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, and they just look like like today's Hollywood blockbusters. And whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it's really depending on the viewer.
True. Yeah.
Well, yeah, Hollywood is famous for finding something that works and then running it into the fucking ground. At some point, somebody in Hollywood realized, hey, orange and blue are like really complementary, and they look really cool together. And now that's just everything,
Yeah.
Every movie.
I mean, I guess it's at this point it's kind of expected that everything is blue and orange. I just wish it wasn't the case. And that's just like a personal pet peeve of mine. The action itself looks great. I just wish that there was more variety than just nothing but a lot of orange and a lot of blue. That's my biggest complaint with the action scenes, as great as they are.
Here's the thing. Here's what I would my one sort of issue with this trailer.
Okay.
This trailer is very King Kong focused, I think.
Very much so, yeah.
Very much so. I think we need one more trailer to show us a little bit more of the Godzilla side of things. And also just to show Godzilla get a fucking hit in at some point, because they did our boy dirty in this fucking trailer. I can't hit him with the tail or anything. Fucking.
They're more than likely to do exactly that.
We saw 2014 and KOTM. Like Godzilla can scrap,
Yeah. When he isn't being covered up in dusts and clouds and shit.
They are more
shots of like Kong running at him though, at nighttime in Hong Kong. It reminds me a lot of like the opening cinematics from Godzilla Saves the Earth.
It's just so
freaking cool looking. The fucking city lights and fucking Godzilla just standing there.
I kept thinking more like Kratos, like the PS4 God of War game, because like over the shoulder and he's got the axe and everything.
Come boy.
I do agree, and I think
he's got the beard now.
Yeah, you're right. Now I'm just waiting for the eventual fan art of depicting Kong as Kratos.
That fan art's already out now, isn't it?
Well, you tell me.
I swear to God, I seen a Kratos version of Kong with the axe and the beard. Hold on.
Okay.
I swear to God, I'm not.
Knowing Roberts and Wingard, I would be surprised at all if this was completely intentional. What if we gave Kong a beard and a big axe? You like Kratos? No, not like Kratos.
I do agree that like there's a lot of this trailer plays heavily in Kong's favor, and maybe that is what made it so popular amongst Americans, because Americans, I always theorized this from the get-go, that this movie was going to set up Kong as the good guy, because people have an inherent familiarity with primates. We see a little bit of ourselves in them. And Kong himself has always been a very significantly more sympathetic character throughout history than Godzilla.
However, Kong has a bad habit of dying in his movies.
Well, here's the thing. Like with Kong Skull Island, or rather Kong Skull Island, the Kong Skull Island anime that's coming out, that tells me the fact that they're already getting ready to create something Kong focused in the MonsterVerse tells me what their future plans are for the MonsterVerse if they ever manage to continue forward. So I feel like that whether or not the quote unquote anime is going to take place before or after this movie tells me the direction this cinematic universe is going forward after this movie. Something tells me that after this movie. Sorry, go ahead.
I don't know which one I would prefer. I think I'd rather it was a prequel, honestly, because there's a lot of lore that they set up in Skull Island that they could explore more thoroughly. Whether that's, going way back to Kong's ancestors, or whether that's like exploring John C. Reilly and that Japanese dude being stranded on the island for all those years. I don't know.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot there that you can only cover so much in a 2-hour movie.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And whatever happens in this movie, I have the strong feeling there's going to be some sense of finality in this movie. And whatever happens, I hope that they provide both characters a proper, not farewell, a proper...
Send-off?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. A proper send-off for both characters, regardless of what happens moving forward. So yeah,
I want to go back to something.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to something you said earlier, and it's kind of my fault for digressing. You said expectations regarding the film based on the trailer alone, like expecting a dumb movie or a sophisticated piece. Here's how I would typically expect kaiju movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just expect a good movie in general. I don't expect an Oscar winner. Like I want a good cast, good performances, a pretty competent script, a good music, good cinematography. Just a good, well balanced film.
Yeah,
the reason why Marvel has been so successful is their movies are like this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. Yeah, at this point, after what happened with King of the Monsters in 2014, I want to go into this with zero expectations, only hoping for a fun movie that I can revisit for the coming years.
I think it's
like Skull Island. I'm expecting that film to go down.
I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to keep my expectations high because of what's happened in the past. But it's I would love. It seems like they're going for a Skull Island feel, and I feel like that may be the best direction to go in. So yeah, I would hope for a movie that's as good as Skull Island. Sorry, what were you going to say, Dylan?
Just that I think it's important, though, to make sure we make the distinction here that there's a difference between quality and tone, obviously.
Yeah. True.
A movie can, when we say the movie's schlocky, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad movie.
No.
Or vice versa. Just because something is campy or corny or cheesy doesn't mean that it's bad.
Of course not. You would be a fool to think so.
Yeah.
Those adjectives can be compliments in certain contexts, such as, I don't know, a fan film or something like that. Point being that,
it really comes down.
I do think
to the execution.
I think a lot of people will conflate those things sometimes, and I think it's an important distinction to make.
Mm-hmm. Oh, here's another thing. If it's as good, even if it's as good as Kong Skull Island or Pacific Rim or Rampage, okay, maybe not Pacific Rim, because that's a whole other tier of awesomeness. But if it's as good as Rampage, I would be happy. Go ahead.
Kong Skull Island a little bit more than Pacific Rim overall.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. I think for me, I would rank Pacific Rim, then Skull Island, then Rampage.
Interesting. I wouldn't even add Rampage to any top tier list of
really. Well, I mean,
films.
In terms of big budget Hollywood monster movies and giant monster movies in the last 10 years.
Where does the Meg fit into this conversation?
Fuck. Fuck the Meg.
The Meg's fun.
I'm only saying that because there was always that one person that for the longest time kept pestering me if I've seen the Meg. And it's you know what?
What?
I'm not going to watch the movie because of you.
Seriously, shut up, Meg.
I
always
haven't
read
seen
the
it.
book.
I haven't seen. I read the book, and it's
Oh, you have?
thoroughly okay.
The movie is also thoroughly okay.
Okay, maybe I'll see the Meg one
know
of
what?
these days. Go ahead.
You know what? You don't need to see the movie then, because I felt like the book was better.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what I've heard. That's looking at the trailers.
I
Yeah.
would say that it's in a similar vein, not as good, but in a similar vein as Rampage. You know, it's that kind of a movie.
But does it have the Meg flipping Jason Statham off?
Well, no, because the Meg has flippers.
Hey man, life finds a way.
Well, or fins, I guess would be the proper terminology. Why is it that they're called flippers when it's dolphins, but with a fish it's a fin? I guess because I don't know why. Is it because they're mammals? Does that make the difference? I don't fucking know.
Who fucking knows, man? There's some questions that are not meant to be answered by us mortal men.
You know what? You can make a horror movie based on that. Just call it Flippers.
How about no?
If you ever want to see Dwight from The Office get eaten by a giant shark, that's the movie for you, though.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's see. Any final thoughts about this trailer? Any other topics you want to get into before we head out?
God damn it! I had a whole bunch of topics. Now I can't remember them.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens to all of us. It's like you just said, Dylan. It always happens.
Yeah, as soon as we hang up the call, each of us internally will go like, "Fuck," you know.
Let's see. Okay, here's the last question. So, with the Shin Ultraman trailer also dropping this week, which one are you guys more excited for?
I gotta be honest. I didn't dig that Shin Ultraman trailer. I didn't dig it. And I think it's just because I hate Shin Godzilla so much.
Okay.
And I got a definite Shin Godzilla vibe just from all the Japanese people in boardrooms.
Yeah.
And also that CGI was pretty rough. Maybe it's not finished yet. I don't know.
It's like late PS2, early PS3 graphics.
I don't know.
It looks like the Ultraman kaiju hopped out of one of the Ultraman PSP games into the movie.
I don't know, man. It's good enough.
Is it? There's no texture.
Well, here's the thing. These monsters are meant to look. Not meant to. These monsters have always looked cartoony as hell. So for me,
yeah, but that was on like $10 and a ham sandwich. This is.
I don't know. I dug it.
I don't know. I preferred that fake like proof of concept trailer from a few years back. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that was way better.
Admittedly, yeah, it does.
I just look. 90%. We're looking at it right now. 90% of this trailer is more Japanese people in suits in boardrooms.
Yeah,
one of them pulled out a gun. At least that's something different.
Yeah, there might be some human action going on there with the dude busting out a gun. Maybe that's their version of the little ray guns from the Science Patrol. But yeah, like I'm looking at this right here. It's like, yeah, it's a little.
Oh, look when it opened its mouth though. It looked okay until it opened its mouth.
I like it.
The big-lipped alligator from All Dogs Go to Heaven.
It's Naranga. He always looked like that.
Ugly.
At least they kept the little beady eyes. I do like that, a little bit of attention there. But I don't know. It didn't bother me.
I'm excited
as much
for both.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say that answering your question, I'm excited for both, but if I had to choose between the two, it's Godzilla vs. Kong that I'm excited for the most because honestly, we've all been waiting that for decades for a rematch, and now here it is in its CG glory. Shin Ultraman, I am insanely curious about, only because
I do like how Ultraman
again, this is from the same team as Shin Godzilla, and I'm in the same boat as Dylan. I didn't like that movie as much.
Here's my thing with Godzilla versus Kong. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
I was gonna say I have slightly more faith with Shin Ultraman compared to Shin Godzilla because that film was supposed to be a return to to form to the allegorio Godzilla and the social political commentaries of 54 and G84 and a few others.
Mm-hmm.
But Shin Ultraman, I sincerely doubt there's going to be any social political commentary. But for sure, Hideki Anno's going to throw in his fucking pro-nationalistic agenda in there somewhere. But
That's
I really doubt it's going to be. I really doubt it's going to be as.
I know Anno's not directing this movie, but he's still involved, and I just know that it's going to get real pretentious at some point. And fucking,
like Ultraman's going to grow angelic wings, and there's going to be some operatic music.
Oh.
It's gonna be that shot from. It's gonna be like that shot. It's gonna be that shot of Ava Unit 1 with the veiny wings in the intro. Ava intro.
I do like the way Ultraman himself. I do like the CG for Ultraman himself in this, though. It looks really nice and clean. I think because he's like, you know,
a very unnatural, silvery, sleek alien.
Right, the sort of metallic look translates better to this type of CGI than the big-lipped alligator monster. Or
Naranga.
Yeah,
Gabora? Is that one?
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, the one with the frill is Gabora, and the big-lipped alligator, that's Naranga. Both originally, ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, both monsters were made from the Baragon suit.
Right. Dude, Jirish, you cowards.
Can you
imagine if they just borrowed the Shin Godzilla like design and just put a frill on it, painted the whole fucking green?
Oh, trust me, there's already like a ton of like Shin Jira's fan art out there.
That's like the ultimate boss battle at the end of the movie. The fucking opera music from Shin Godzilla kicks in. It's like, oh, here's the you're like, oh, here's the Anno I remember.
That's my Anno. I mean, so I was gonna say this. So a lot of people are really hyped for Godzilla vs. Kong, and a lot of people are really excited to see Godzilla and Kong meet up for the first time officially since '62. For me personally, the novelty of seeing those two characters interacting with each other is kind of lost on me, only because I just grown tired of waiting for this movie and seeing the banner, all those various versions of the banner, and knowing this movie's existence since 2015. I'm not as excited. Go ahead.
Are you just fatigued from
waiting?
Not just the experience of being monsters, but from most Hollywood movies nowadays, and how it's.
I think it's a combination of all of that. And so that's why I'm kind of personally more interested in Shin Ultraman, because it's something like you said, David, I'm very, very curious with what they're going to do with this movie. Cause like with Godzilla vs. Kong, we kind of already know what's going to happen, what's going to go down. We already like predicted the movie with what the son of Serizawa is going to do, and what Mechagodzilla is going to do, and it's going to be a whole BVS Doomsday thing. We kind of already know what the movie's going to happen. With Shin Ultraman, I have no fucking clue what Anno's and Higuchi are going to do, and that's what makes me excited. It's like,
because
man, you might walk out of Godzilla vs. Kong a full week before we get to see it. Fucking international market piece of shit. You might walk out of that movie thinking, wow, I can't believe fucking Cthulhu came out at the end. That was crazy. You don't know what they're gonna whip out.
I can't believe Kong was Godzilla's son the entire time.
I can't believe Kong was Mechanic Kong this whole time.
And then Jaguar showed up.
We'll see what happens at the end of the movie is that Kong puts on the Mechagodzilla chassis and becomes Jaguar.
Yes! Yes! Oh, man. So, either way, I'm happy to... Go ahead.
I'm in the same boat of you when it comes to Shin Ultraman, because I am not a fan of the Ultraman shows of the last 10 years. They become half-hour toy commercials.
Did you see X or Z?
No, but I've heard good things, so I may give those a chance.
At least start with X.
Yeah. Well, there's a Blu-ray for that one out, so
yes.
I need to just get the Blu-ray to support it.
Yeah. I was gonna say. Sorry, go ahead.
For years, I've been asking for a mature reinvention of Ultraman similar to Nexus, and Shin Ultraman comes the closest to that. So that's why my interest is piqued.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I was to play on build on Dylan's joke coming out of Godzilla versus Kong. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna end up going out of Godzilla versus Kong going, yeah, and then I'm gonna come out of Shin Ultraman going, what?
Why do you sound like Little John in this situation?
Then you're gonna watch Singular Point. Then you're gonna watch Singular Point and just be like, okay. That's another fucking thing. Everybody's all excited for it. I'm like, no,
really,
I'm not. Just because after that anime trilogy, I've been burned at this point.
Yes,
and I'm just like, I'm just gonna wait till I see it and then assess it at that point. I'm not gonna anticipate it at all. I know Jet Jaguar is supposed to be in it. That's obviously very exciting.
Yeah, I remember
beyond that, I have no expectations whatsoever.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I was sold on Jet Jaguar's appearance, but I remember, like, what was it? Patrick, he joked that, like, we're only ever gonna see, like, Jet Jaguar as, like, a very brief, like, a super, super brief role akin to Mechagodzilla City. And I was like, don't you dare!
Honestly, it kind of looks like they're in like some sort of an exhibit. Like it looks like the fucking like City of the Future from Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. So I'm like, is Jet Jaguar gonna actually do anything, or is he just gonna be a fucking like robot in a museum? You know?
Yeah. Who honestly, who knows, man? I'm also interested in Singular Point because again, it feels like they're doing something new with the series that, like, I know. Yes, the series, what was it? City on the Godzilla anime trilogy also did something new, which was intriguing, but turns out to be a complete load of shit. But I'm also hoping that whatever new shit comes out of Singular Point is not complete shit.
Yeah, what studio is behind this? Do you know?
It is the same studio behind Beastars, which I absolutely love. It's like Zootopia, but darker.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet, but you recommended that to me a while back.
Yeah, that could be a topic we can cover on like Fully Endorse one of these days, season 1 of Beastars. But what was it called? I think Studio Orange. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Bones and Orange are co-producing this.
Yeah. Let's see. And we got our boy Gabra right here. We haven't seen him in a long time.
This one is actually like a show as opposed to a movie. Is that what it is?
Right.
12 episodes.
Yeah, and that was the deal with the Godzilla anime trilogy. It was meant to be a show, but then they were like said, nope, we're changing our minds. You're gonna make 3 movies, so condense all that shit, and we're not gonna give you the proper budget to make an actual movie. So yeah, I feel like that should be more than enough. We talked about Singular Point. We talked about the Shin Ultraman trailer, and especially we covered the granddaddy of them all, Godzilla vs. Kong. So overall, I'm pretty excited.
How about this election? Now you see.
Honestly, I think that Godzilla should have won. He was.
We also.
And I suspect voter fraud in terms of his appearance and blah blah blah. So yeah.
The other party only voted for Kong because monkey, and I would argue that is not a good basis on which to base the democracy.
So we've gone on for about an hour and a half now, just talking about Big Monkey versus Spiky Lizard Boy. And so
we also talked about the Mexicans.
Barely before this recording, which didn't even get on recording. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on our first SOS discussion in a long while. We hope to see you in some capacity in the near future. I'm not sure if Bill will or will be joining us or not for the actual review of City on the Edge. On City on Edge. Fuck, I'm already got anime minds. My movies are. I'm getting everything mixed up here. I'm looking forward to when we eventually cover Godzilla vs. Kong, and if these guys are interested, perhaps maybe we can also do collaborative SOS reviews, just like the good old days for both Singular Point and Shin Ultraman when the time comes. So, thank you very much, everybody. So, as always, I have been Andres Perez, aka Kaiju Noir.
I'm Gorzard.
And I'm Super DM64. Reminding you to check out Fully Endorsed on this channel every 2 weeks.
And not only can you check out the Fully Endorsed podcast on YouTube, but you can also check it out on Podbean for those of you who wish to listen to it to the audio separately. So we uploaded the first 4 episodes on Podbean, and so if we get enough attention there, then I'll perhaps be uploading more episodes on Podbean as we go, past episodes on there as we go on. And also be sure to check out my comic book series, Primal Warrior Draco Azul, Issues 1 and Issues 2, available on Amazon, Kindle, Comixology, paperback, what have you, as well as my novel-length anthology book, Primal Warrior Draco Azul, Full Metal Chronicles. Also available on Kindle and paperback on Amazon. So you can buy them, you can read them, you can review them, and most importantly, you can share them. So do please check out any and all of that. So thank you very much, everybody, again, and a big thanks to my co-hosts here, Dylan and David. It's been a huge pleasure being able to get the gang, almost all of the gang, back together, and we hope to see you soon in our eventual review for GBK and any other kaiju projects that you would like to hear our thoughts on. So until next time, everybody, take care, and always remember, the science is sound.